So Drachenfels is a relatively complicated level. There's lots of ins and outs to it, and these are just some techniques that I've found that I've encountered that have helped me be more efficient at this map, although I might be biting off more than I can chew. When you approach this map, there's kind of two main ways to look at it. Either you're farming for DLC weapons in any color, or you're farming for reds. If you're farming for any color DLC weapons, like you just want to get your first glaive, you just want to get your first volley bow, then I would recommend putting it on an easier difficulty and just completing it as many times as you can. Skip all the tomes, skip all the chests, skip everything, play with bots, and just try to rack up as many completions as you possibly can so that you roll the dice as much as you can to try to get that weapon. So this video will focus mostly on supposing you're trying to get the reds, in which case you want full books and you want both of those loot die if you can get them. So when you get to the first area, you want to clear through this area as quickly as you possibly can, because it's very common that a horde spawns here, and while you can sit at the chest and defend the horde there, it's kind of just a waste of time. Like, you could have been progressing further in the level, so it's just inefficient. So I try to get past here as soon as I possibly can. The reason I rushed to Tome 1 is because sometimes a patrol spawns, like in this instance, and if you're quick about it, you can get there and you can skip that first patrol. But in this instance, some of my team, they're not fast enough and they aggro the patrol, and now we have to fight them in suboptimal circumstances. If you have the QOL mod, your bots can grab this tome through the wall, and that can save you a couple seconds. Now from here, you just follow the normal pathing to First Grim. Now when you get to First Grim, you have a decision to make. Do you split the group up or do you all go for the Grim? I recommend all going for the Grim because I see the people who stay die much more often than I see the people who go down with the Grim. And even if someone else is somehow in front of me and they happen to beat me to the Grim, I'm still going to go down there because the Grim carrier's life matters to me. One thing to be aware of is if you go down with the bots will tend to get bunched up right here, and so I have to do the rest of the part by yourself. Now when you get to this hallway, I always take the right side as opposed to the left side. The reason for this is because first off, the chest is on the right side, so it's easier to just go all the way straight. And then when you get to the chest, you can jump off onto the railing like this. The handy thing about this railing is you can jump on it and go up to the level above and then jump back down to where you came. And this extra verticality can buy you some space if you need some room from the horde or the ogre or something. So this is a common ogre or patrol spawn. So I prefer to fight up here where there's no trash on the floor, there's nothing to get in the way, it's a very linear, very easy fight, rather than go down into the tables where the poison feast is. I haven't really decided which way I think is better. I'd break it down into two paths. Either path 1, where you go right, or path 2, where you go straight. Now, if you take path 2, that's a much more traditional path. Most people tend to go straight right here, where they go straight, they probably skip the chest, and they only turn right to grab the tome and come back. Now, if you're not running the loot die, it's probably just worth going straight. If you do have the luck stone, I prefer to go right. Now, the reason I like to go right is because it's a more direct route, there's less trash you're going to have to deal with, and you can skip a patrol, which is a common spawn. The problem is that most pubs don't think to come this way. Most people just go straight and they forget that this chest even exists. So when you do go right, you'll find very often that your team isn't going to know what you're doing and they're not going to follow you. So this balcony is a good place to hide from a patrol, but sometimes pubs can have a hard time making the jump to get up here. Now here there are two chests on the left hand side, and then I jump over and get the chest adjacent to the Grim. Now for the statues. Generally I'm in front and I tend to go on the right side, but it doesn't matter if you go left or right, and depending on how much confidence you have in your team, you can do 1, 2, or even 3 statues at a time. And you come back the way that you came because your teammates are already sitting there ready to kill the rats that spawn. Also, there's a little jump right here where you can jump and throw the statue up, and that can buy you a couple seconds. Whether or not I go left or right upstairs first depends on which way we came back with the statue. One thing to note is when you actually pick up the chalice, the player that picks it up, their block will drop for a split second. So always stand on top of the door in case you get hit in that split second so that you'll fall down and your team can revive you. Also be aware that if you have bots, the bots just can't handle standing on the spot. They very often get separated. So the best way to deal with it is to run forward as quickly as you can before your bots die to the horde up at the top so that they'll teleport downstairs with you. Now for this part, I tend to just go straight first. What I don't do is split up, just like they're doing right here. I only change directions as needed, and I go as quickly as possible. And I think that the ease of this part is directly proportional to how fast you're going. If you're going fast, you're gonna get past those hard rooms before the rats are able to spawn and surround you. So thanks for watching. I'm sure there's some other ways to do this. In particular, right after the poison feast, I'm really not certain what the best way to go is, and sometimes I go one way, sometimes I go the other way. I still haven't made up my mind. What I have made up my mind about is I think it's not worth it to try to get all the items because there's a lot of side rooms on this map. I think it's not worth it exposing yourself just for the off chance that there might be a health pack. So I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you're able to glean something from this, and I hope you roll a fancy hat.